The morning had barely begun when Stephanie heard the sound of something shattering outside her house. Crash! She froze. A plate was still in her hand, half covered in soap, while the music playing from her phone continued softly from the kitchen counter. For several seconds, Stephanie didn't move. She simply stared toward the front window. The song kept playing. Then she slowly lowered the plate into the sink. What was that? She reached for her phone and paused the music. Silence. Stephanie listened. Nothing. She glanced around her kitchen. She lived alone. There was nobody else in the house who could have knocked something over. And as far as she knew, nobody was supposed to be outside either. Then she heard it. Footsteps. Stephanie's eyebrows pulled together. Someone was outside. She quickly wiped her hands on a kitchen towel and walked toward the front door. She wasn't particularly frightened, but there was something about the sound that made her curious. She unlocked the door. The moment she stepped outside, she stopped. There, right beside the little flower arrangement she had placed near her front entrance, was a man crouched on the ground, and scattered around him were pieces of her favorite flower vase. Stephanie's mouth fell open. The man slowly looked up. Their eyes met. It was Kim, of all people. Kim Ji-hoon. He was holding two pieces of the broken vase in his hands, trying to fit them together as though sheer determination could somehow reverse what had just happened. Stephanie stared at him. Kim stared back. Then he looked at the broken vase. Then at Stephanie. Then back at the vase. He gave her an awkward smile. Good morning. Stephanie's face remained completely blank. Kim. Yes. What are you doing? Kim looked down at the pieces. I was fixing it. You broke it. I know. So why are you fixing something you just broke? Kim thought about that for a moment. Because I felt bad about breaking it. Stephanie closed her eyes. She took a slow breath. You broke my vase. It was an accident. You broke my vase. I said it was an accident. Stephanie pointed at the pieces on the ground. That vase was there yesterday. Kim nodded. Yes. It was perfectly fine. Yes. And now? Kim looked down. Less fine. Stephanie stared at him. He gave her another smile. She didn't return it. Kim knew that look. He had seen it many times over the past 161 days. So, naturally, he decided to make things worse. Before Stephanie could say another word, Kim suddenly stood up straight. Then, without warning, he dropped down onto one knee. Stephanie's eyes widened. Kim. He reached inside his jacket. Don't. Kim pulled out a single flower. Stephanie stared at it. Kim held it toward her with an almost painfully innocent smile. Stephanie, I know I've made mistakes, but dash. Get up. I believe that two people who truly care about each other should dash. Kim, give love another chance. Get up. Kim laughed. He stayed on one knee for another second just to annoy her. Stephanie folded her arms. Her eyes moved from the flower in his hand to the broken vase on the ground. She genuinely couldn't decide which thing irritated her more. The fact that Kim had broken her vase, or the fact that he was apparently using the opportunity to stage another ridiculous proposal. You think this is funny? Kim slowly got back on his feet. A little. I'm serious. I know. No, you don't. Kim's smile faded slightly. Stephanie pointed toward the broken vase. Fix it. I will. Properly. I promise. And then leave me alone. Kim nodded. He bent down and began gathering the broken pieces. Stephanie turned toward her front door. Then Kim spoke. Day 162. She stopped. Slowly, she looked over her shoulder. What? Today makes 162 days. Stephanie frowned. 162 days of what? Kim looked up at her. Of me asking you to forgive me. For a moment, Stephanie said nothing. Kim similed. Only 203 more days to go. You're unbelievable. I've been told. She shook her head and started walking toward the door. Kim continued. Besides, I still don't understand why you're punishing me this badly. Stephanie stopped again. Punishing you? Yes. Kim stood up with the pieces of the vase in his hands. I mean, it's been 162 days. You know exactly why. I honestly don't. You do. Kim sighed. Stephanie, I didn't cheat on you. She looked at him. I didn't lie to you. Her expression hardened. I didn't betray you. She turned around fully. And whatever happened was just a small mistake. The moment the words left his mouth, Kim realized he had chosen the wrong words. Stephanie stared at him. A small mistake? Stephanie. She pointed toward the house. Fix my vase. Kim opened his mouth. And leave. He closed it. Yes, ma'am. Stephanie walked inside and shut the door. She leaned against it for a moment, staring at nothing. Outside, she could hear Kim moving around. Then she heard him mutter something. Stephanie couldn't make out the words. She almost smiled. Almost. Then she remembered what he had said. A small mistake. Her expression changed again. No, she whispered to herself. She walked away from the door. But after only a few steps, she stopped. Her eyes drifted toward the door. She sighed. Ugh. Then she turned around and opened it. Kim, who was already walking away, turned around. Stephanie hurried toward him. He smiled when he saw her coming. What? She stopped directly in front of him. Give me money. Kim bilinkit. What? My vase. I thought you told me to fix it. You can't fix it. I was going to try. You're not fixing it. Kim looked at her. Then he smiled. So you called me back because you missed me? Stephanie's face immediately became serious. No. Are you sure? Yes. Because you ran out here. Because you owe me money. Kim laughed. Stephanie stretched out her hand. Give me the money. He shook his head, amused. You're really something. Kim. Okay. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his wallet. Stephanie watched him carefully. Kim pulled out some cash. He began counting. 100. Stephanie's eyes briefly followed the bills. 200. She tried not to look interested. Kim notijit. A tiny smile appeared on his face. 300. Stephanie's lips twitched. Kim noticed that too. You're smiling. Her face immediately changed. I am not. You were. I wasn't. You definitely were. Give me the money. Kim chuckled and continued counting. Stephanie suddenly snatched the entire stack from his hand. Hey! She spun around and ran. Stephanie. She reached the door, opened it, rushed inside, and slammed it shut. Kim ran after her. Stephanie. She locked the door. Come back here. She covered her mouth, trying not to laugh. Outside, Kim knocked. You stole my money. Stephanie leaned against the door. You gave it to me. I was still counting. That sounds like a you problem. There was silence for a moment. Then Kim laughed from outside. Stephanie finally allowed herself to smile. She looked down at the money clutched tightly in her hands. Her smile grew. She held the cash against her chest for a moment before pulling it away and beginning to count herself. Outside, Kim called her name again. Stephanie. She said nothing. He called again. Stephanie, at least give me half. Still nothing. Eventually, his footsteps began moving away from the door. Stephanie listened until she could no longer hear him. Only then did she look down at the money again. She smiled. Then she headed back toward the kitchen. Her unfinished dishes were still waiting for her. Stephanie stared at them. She stared for another second. Then she shook her head. Nope. She picked up her phone. The dishes could wait. She was going to get herself some good pizza. After all, it wasn't every morning that a man broke your favorite vase, proposed to you with a flower, annoyed you for 10 minutes, and then accidentally paid for your breakfast. Stephanie walked toward the sofa instead. But before she could sit down, the amusement on her face slowly disappeared. She remembered Kim's words again. It was just a small mistake. Stephanie sat down, her eyes fixed on the television, though she wasn't watching it. A small mistake? She let out a quiet breath. Kim could joke. He could tease her. He could count the days. He could show up every morning with flowers and that stupid smile on his face. But there was one thing he still didn't understand. What he had done hadn't been small. Not to her. And until Kim understood that, day 162 wouldn't be the last day, he came begging for forgiveness. Kim walked home slowly, the broken flower vase already far behind him. In his hand was the flower he had carried to Stephanie's house that morning. It had been meant for something much more romantic. Instead, he had ended up losing a few $100s, getting yelled at, and watching Stephanie steal his money and run into her house. Kim smiled to himself. Somehow, he still considered the morning a success. At least she had smiled, even if it had only lasted for a second. He looked down at the flower in his hand. Day 162, he muttered. Then he suddenly stopped walking. His eyes widened. Oh no, his smile disappeared. He had forgotten something. Something very important. His mother. More specifically, The trash. That morning, before he left the house, his elderly mother had told him to take the trash outside. He had said yes. Of course he had said yes. Then he had left, and completely forgotten about it. Kim slowly continued walking. Maybe she forgot too. He nodded to himself. Yes, that's possible. He was halfway through convincing himself when he turned the corner and saw his house. And standing directly outside it was his mother, holding the trash. Kim stopped. His mother looked up. Kim froze. Their eyes met. Neither of them said anything. His mother stared at him. Kim stared at her. The trash bag hung from her hand. Kim's eyes slowly dropped to it, then back to her face. His mother's eyes narrowed. Kim swallowed it. He knew that look. It was the same look she had given him when he was 10 years old and broke her favorite plate. The same look she gave him when he came home late. The same look that said, "You know exactly what you did." Kim tried to smile. His mother didn't smile back. He looked away. Then, pretending nothing was wrong, he casually walked past her. "Good morning, Mom." Silence. Kim kept walking. "Beautiful morning, isn't it?" Nothing. He took another step. Then he heard his mother's voice. "Kimu." He stopped. Slowly, he turned around. "Yes, Mom. Come here." Kim looked at her, then at the house, then at the street. His mother took one step toward him. Kim immediately took one step backward. She took another. He took another. "Why are you walking away from me?" "I'm not." "You are. I'm just giving you space." His mother raised the trash bag slightly. "Come here." Kim suddenly grinned. Then he ran toward her. "Mom." He wrapped both arms around her before she could react. His mother burst into laughter. "Hey, get off me." Kim hugged her even tighter. "I missed you. You were gone for 1 hour. It felt like a lifetime. You're ridiculous." She finally managed to push him away and lightly smacked the side of his head. "Ouch. Now, tell me something." Kim rubbed his head. "What? Why did you leave this morning without taking the trash like I told you?" Kim immediately looked away. "I had an emergency." His mother stared at him. "What emergency?" Kim hesitated. "A very important one." She looked at the flower in his hand. Then she looked at him. Her expression changed. "You went to see her." Kim looked at her. "Who?" His mother gave him a look. "Don't play with me." Kim similed. "Stephanie." His mother sighed. "Yes. Stephanie." Kim nodded. "Yeah, Mom." She shook her head. "You left early in the morning just to go and see that girl." "It wasn't just to see her." His mother glanced at the flower. "Then what was the flower for?" Kim quickly hid it behind his back. "Nothing." "Kimu." "Okay, fine." He brought the flower forward. "I was trying to make peace." His mother sighed again. "You're still doing this?" "Yes." "After 162 days?" Kim looked at her. "Yes." His mother shook her head. Then Kim suddenly pointed at her. "This is your fault." His mother blinked. "My fault?" "Yes." "What did I do?" "You know what you did." "I don't know what I did." "You started all of this." His mother put one hand on her waist. "Excuse me." "You heard me. I didn't do anything." "You did." "I did not." "You did." His mother shook her head. "I only did what I thought was right." Kim stared at her. "And look where that got me." "Where did it get you?" Day 162. His mother stared at him for a moment. Then she laughed. "Wait, you actually count the days?" Kim looked offended. "Of course. You've been counting for 162 days?" "Yes." She shook her head. "You know what? Sometimes I don't understand you." Kim frowned. "It's not even a year." His mother looked at him. "Exactly. It's only 162 days." "Only." Kim nodded. "Only." His mother pointed at the trash bag. "So, you know how to keep records of how many days you've been teasing a girl, but you can't remember to take out the trash?" Kim opened his mouth. Nothing came out. His mother smiled triumphantly. "I thought so. That is completely different." "Ow! It just is." She laughed. Kim shook his head and started walking toward the house. His mother followed him. "You should forget about that girl and move on." Kim stopped. He slowly turned around. "Forget about her?" "Yes." He stared at his mother. "You're the reason I'm in this situation." His mother raised her eyebrows. "And yet you're the one who keeps going back." Kim pointed at her. "You dash." She raised her hand. "Don't you dare." Kim stopped. Then he smiled. His mother narrowed her eyes. "What are you smiling about?" "Nothing." "You're thinking about something." "No." Kim suddenly made a fist and raised it slightly. His mother immediately stepped back. Are you trying to hit me? Kim's eyes widened. What? You just raised your fist. I wasn't going to hit you. You better not. Mom, go ahead. She puffed out her chest jokingly. Try it. Kim stared at her. Then he burst out laughing. His mother smiled too. You're lucky I'm old. Kim laughed harder. You're lucky I'm your son. Whatever. They finally walked inside. For the next few minutes, the conversation moved away from Stephanie. They talked about work, about breakfast, about how Kim was always leaving things until the last minute. His mother complained about him leaving his shoes everywhere. Kim complained about her moving his things without telling him. It was ordinary, comfortable, the kind of argument only two people who had lived together for a long time could have. Eventually, his mother looked at him. Just go and sort yourself out. Kim frånit. What does that mean? You heard me. Sort myself out? Yes. She waved her hand dismissively. Whatever is happening between you and that girl, that's your business. Kim looked at her suspiciously. So you're not concerned anymore? No. Really. Kim nodded slowly. Good. His mother picked up something from a table. Now go prepare for work. You're getting late. Kim glanced at the clock. He sighed. Okay. He picked up his things and headed toward the bathroom. His mother watched him disappear. Then she shook her head. She muttered quietly to herself. Stephanie this, Stephanie that. Stephanie every day. She sighed. What is so special about that girl? Kim suddenly poked his head back around the corner. I heard that. His mother jumped. What? I heard what you said. She stared at him, then immediately pointed toward the bathroom. Get the hell out. Kim laughed and disappeared again. His mother shook her head. Crazy boy. But despite her complaining, a small smile remained on her face. A smile that had lots of stories behind it. The music was loud enough to fill the entire car. Kim had one hand on the steering wheel and the other tapping against the door as he sang along badly to the song playing through the speakers. He didn't care. Not today. He had already been late leaving the house, and, judging by the time on the dashboard, he was going to be even later getting to work. But somehow, Kim looked completely unbothered. Good morning. He waved enthusiastically at an old man standing outside a convenience store. The man looked at him strangely. Kim smiled and continued driving. A few seconds later, he spotted a woman crossing the street. Good morning. She looked around, wondering who he was talking to. Kim laughed. He turned the music up. Today is a beautiful day. He sang along again, completely off-key. At one point, he stopped at a red light and began drumming on the steering wheel like he was performing on a stage. The driver beside him stared. Kim notigit. He pointed at the man and nodded seriously. Great song. The driver shook his head and looked away. Kim laughed. Nothing could ruin his mood, not even being almost an hour late for work. In fact, when he finally pulled into the parking lot, he looked at the time and realized he was exactly 1 hour late. He stared at the dashboard. 1 hour? He shrugged. That's not too bad. He grabbed his things, stepped out of the car, and casually walked into the building. There was no panic, no running, no desperate attempt to sneak into his office unnoticed. Kim walked through the building as though he had arrived exactly when he was supposed to. Then he reached his boss's office. He knocked once. Jamine. Kim opened the door. The CEO, Ashton, was sitting behind his desk. He looked up. His expression was serious. Very serious. Kim's smile slowly disappeared. Ashton stared at him. Kim stared back. Neither man spoke. The silence grew. 5 seconds. 10 seconds. Kim shifted his weight. Ashton finally spoke. Why are you 1 hour late? Kim said nothing. Ashton leaned forward. I asked you a question. Kim looked at him. Ashton looked at him. Another long silence. Then Kim smiled. Ashton suddenly burst out laughing. You idiot. Kim immediately laughed too. You should have seen your face. My face? Yes. Ashton shook his head. Are you crazy? You come into my office 1 hour late, and you're standing there smiling at me. Kim walked farther into the office. Because I knew you weren't actually going to fire me. Ashton pointed at him. Don't get too comfortable. I'm still your boss. Kim laughed. Boss? Yes. You? Me? Kim looked him up and down. You're still the same idiot from school. Ashton leaned back in his chair. And you're still the same useless troublemaker. They both laughed. It was obvious that this wasn't the relationship between an ordinary employee and his boss. They were friends. Old friends. The kind of friends who had known each other long before money, businesses, and offices ever entered the picture. Years ago, when they were much younger, Ashton and Kim had grown up together. They had shared countless memories. They had argued, fought, laughed, got into trouble together. But while Kim continued along his own path, Ashton eventually made a decision that changed his life. He dropped out of school. He started a business. And somehow, against all odds, that small business grew. Then it grew again and again. Years later, Ashton had become a wealthy and successful businessman. Eventually, his journey brought him back to the city where Kim was living. The two friends crossed paths again, and Ashton didn't hesitate. He offered Kim a job. Kim accepted. Now, despite the difference in their positions, neither of them had forgotten where they came from. Kim walked over and casually dropped himself into one of the chairs. Ashton frowned. "Did I tell you to sit?" Kim crossed his legs. "No." "Then why are you sitting?" "Because I'm tired." "You're tired?" "Yes." "You came 1 hour late." "Exactly. That's why I'm tired." Ashton stared at him. "Kim Goodinut. You're lucky you're my friend." "No, you're lucky I'm your friend." They laughed again. Eventually, Ashton shook his head. "So, tell me." "Tell you what? Why were you late?" Kim's smile widened. "You're not going to believe what happened." "Try me." Kim leaned forward, and within seconds, he was telling Ashton about his morning. The broken vase, the flower, the ridiculous one-knee proposal, Stephanie's reaction, the money, and, most importantly, the fact that Stephanie had actually smiled. Ashton listened, occasionally laughing. "You broke her vase?" "It was an accident." "And then you proposed?" "It wasn't really a proposal. You got down on one knee. It was a joke." "You're unbelievable." Kim similed it. She smiled, though. Ashton looked at him. "You're still chasing her after all this time?" "Of course." Kim's voice became softer for a moment. "I'm not giving up." Ashton studied his friend. Then he smiled. "Well, good luck." Kim stood up. "Thanks." Ashton looked at the pile of documents on his desk. "Actually, before you go, there's a lot of work waiting for you." Kim's smile disappeared. "How much?" "Enough." Kim sigit dramatijai. "You're cruel." "I'm your boss." "You keep saying that." "Because you keep forgetting." Kim laughed and walked toward the door. "I'm going." "Good." Kim stepped outside. "Kimu." He turned. Ashton pointed at him. "Tomorrow." Kim understood immediately. "I'm coming early." "Good." "Maybe." "Kimu." Kim laughed and disappeared down the hallway. The moment the door closed, the office became quiet. Ashton leaned back in his chair. For a few seconds, he simply stared at the door. Then his phone vibrated. Buzz. He reached for it. A message had arrived. Ashton looked at the screen. The contact name was saved as My Heartbeat. He opened the message. "I'll think about your offer, sir." Ashton read it twice. A slow smile appeared on his face. He leaned back in his chair. Then, almost under his breath, he whispered, "You'll have to accept my offer." His smile widened. "My dear Stephanie." He placed the phone face down on the desk. For a moment, his expression remained calm. Then the smile disappeared, and an unsettling smirk slowly replaced it. Outside the office, Kim was completely unaware. He was already sitting at his desk, complaining about the amount of paperwork waiting for him. He had no idea that the man he called his best friend had just received a message from Stephanie, and he certainly had no idea what kind of offer Ashton had made her. By the time evening arrived, the neighborhood had settled into the quiet rhythm of the night. It was almost 8 o'clock. Inside her apartment, Stephanie sat at her desk with her laptop open in front of her. The soft glow from the screen illuminated her face as she carefully typed, deleted, and typed again. She had spent most of the evening working. There were reports she needed to submit, emails she still hadn't answered, and several things she had promised herself she would finish before going to bed. For once, her mind was almost completely occupied with work. Almost. Every now and then, the events of the morning returned to her. Kimu, the broken vase, his stupid flower, his ridiculous smile, and most annoyingly, the money. Stephanie smiled faintly when she remembered how quickly she had snatched it from his hand. Then she shook her head. Idiot. Her phone suddenly vibrated. She ignored it. A few seconds later, it vibrated again. Stephanie glanced at it. A message. She reached for the phone and unlocked it. It was from Ashton. Her expression immediately changed. Ashton, come outside. Stephanie stared at the message. She typed, "Why?" Before she could send it, another message appeared. Ashton, I'm outside. Stephanie looked toward the window. She stood up and slowly walked over. She moved the curtain aside just enough to see outside. There it was. A car parked across the road. Ashton was sitting inside. Stephanie let the curtain fall. She sighed. Seriously? She wasn't expecting him. Not tonight. She walked toward the front door, opened it, and stepped outside. Ashton's car was parked a short distance away. Stephanie walked toward it. When she reached the car, Ashton had already stepped out slightly and opened the passenger door for her, gesturing for her to get in. Stephanie hesitated. Then she got in. Ashton closed the door after her. For a few moments, neither of them spoke. The car was quiet. Stephanie looked straight ahead. She wasn't interested in small talk. Finally, she turned toward him. You asked me to come outside. I did. So why? Ashton's smile faded slightly. I wanted to see you. Stephanie waited. And he sighed. Okay. He turned toward her. The offer. Stephanie's expression became serious. You're asking me again? I need an answer. She looked away. I told you I needed time. You've had time. Not enough. How much more do you need? I don't know. Ashton studied her. Stephanie, I think you're overthinking this. Maybe. You know what I'm offering you? Yes. And you know what it could mean for you? Yes. Then why are you hesitating? Stephanie remained silent. She stared through the windshield. There were too many things going through her mind. She hadn't expected Ashton to keep pushing. But he wasn't giving up. Eventually, she spoke. I need to think about all my options. Ashton leaned back. All your options? Yes. He nodded slowly. And what exactly are you waiting for? I don't know. He turned toward her. You should decide quickly. Stephanie looked at him. Why? Because opportunities don't wait forever. There was something different in his voice now. Less playful. More deliberate. He moved slightly closer. Stephanie didn't move. Ashton reached toward her face and gently brushed a strand of hair away from her cheek. You need to be quick, he said quietly. Stephanie immediately moved his hand away. I said I haven't made up my mind. Ashton looked at her. I know. Then don't pressure me. He smiled. I'm not pressuring you. You are. I'm simply reminding you that time matters. Stephanie shook her head. She reached for the door handle. Are you finished? Ashton opened his mouth. Stephanie, wait dash. She opened the door. Then his voice stopped her. Wait. She looked back. Ashton pointed toward the back seat. I got you something. Stephanie frowned. What? Look. He reached into the back seat and brought forward a carefully packaged flower vase. Stephanie's eyes widened. For a moment, she simply stared at it. Then she looked at Ashton. How did you know? Know what? That I needed a new vase. Ashton smiled. I just wanted to get you something. Stephanie continued staring at him. How did you know I needed one? He shrugged. I saw it and thought of you. She didn't look convinced. There was something about the timing that felt strange. This morning, her vase had been broken. And now, that same evening, Ashton had somehow appeared with a replacement. How thoughtful, she said quietly. Ashton smiled. It is, isn't it? Stephanie looked down at the vase again. She could have accepted it. It was beautiful, and perhaps part of her wanted to, but something inside her told her not to. She gently pushed it back toward him. Thank you. Ashton frowned slightly. But I can't take it. Why? I just can't. She stepped out of the car. Good night, Ashton. She closed the door. Ashton remained inside for a few seconds. Then he opened his door and stepped out. Stephanie was already walking toward her apartment. Ashton picked up the vase. He crossed the road. Then, without saying anything, he placed the new vase exactly where the old one had been. He looked towards Stephanie's house for a moment, then walked back to his car. He got inside and sat in silence. Stephanie watched from behind her curtains. She didn't understand him. She didn't understand the offer. And she definitely didn't understand how he had known about the vase. She closed the curtain and walked away from the window. Then she stopped. Her phone was still in her hand. She stared at the screen. Her finger hovered over Ashton's name. She opened their conversation. For For several seconds, she simply looked at the empty message box. Then she began typing. Slowly, her hands trembled. She stopped, looked at the words, then continued. I accept your offer. Stephanie stared at the sentence. Her breathing became heavier. She knew exactly what she was about to do. Her thumb hovered over the send button. Then, she pressed it. Sent. Stephanie froze. Her eyes widened. No. She immediately shook her head. No, no, no. Her hands moved frantically across the screen. She deleted the message. Delete for everyone. The message disappeared. Stephanie dropped the phone onto the sofa. She stood there breathing heavily. Then she wiped a single tear from the corner of her eye. She didn't understand why she had done it. Or perhaps she did. She simply didn't want to admit it. Across the road, inside his parked car, Ashton looked down at his phone. A notification had appeared. He opened it. His eyes fell on the message. I accept your offer. A smile slowly spread across his face. Then, seconds later, another notification appeared. This message was deleted. Ashton stared at the screen. He knew what had happened. He had seen it. He had seen her acceptance before she took it back. His thumb moved toward the keyboard. He could tell her he had seen it. He could tease her. He could tell her that deleting it wouldn't change anything. But he stopped. A quiet smile appeared on his face. No need. He placed the phone down. Then he looked towards Stephanie's apartment. Through the curtains, he could see a faint shadow moving. Stephanie was watching him, trying to see whether he was still there. Ashton smiled. He started the engine. But before driving away, he looked toward the apartment one last time. Stephanie. His smile returned. My heartbeat. He paused. You'll have to take my offer, dear. His eyes narrowed slightly. No two ways about it. The car slowly pulled away from the curb. Stephanie remained behind the curtain. She watched the headlights disappear down the street. She didn't move until Ashton's car was completely out of sight. Only then did she let the curtain fall. And once again, she looked at her phone. The deleted message was gone, but the decision behind it wasn't. The apartment was quiet. Too quiet. Stephanie had fallen asleep on the couch without even realizing it. Her laptop was still open on the small table in front of her, the screen glowing faintly in the darkness. She had never gotten around to finishing her work. Her phone rested loosely in one hand. The screen was still open to her conversation with Ashton. The last message she had sent him was gone, but the memory of it wasn't. I accept your offer. She had deleted it almost immediately. Yet somehow, she couldn't delete what had driven her to type it. Outside, the neighborhood had become completely dark. The clock on the wall was approaching midnight. Stephanie shifted slightly in her sleep. Then, the front door moved. Slowly, the door had never been locked. A figure stood outside. For a moment, the person simply looked inside. Then a hand reached for the handle. The door opened. Quietly, the figure stepped inside. One foot, then another. The door was carefully pushed shut. The person looked toward the living room. Stephanie was still asleep. Her breathing was slow. Her phone remained in her hand. The figure began walking toward her. Slowly, carefully, one step at a time. The person's shoes barely made a sound against the floor. Closer, closer, until the figure was standing only a few feet away from the couch. Stephanie suddenly moved. Her eyebrows tightened. Something had disturbed her sleep. She opened her eyes. At first, everything was blurry. Then she saw the silhouette standing in front of her. Her eyes widened. She immediately sat upright and pulled herself backward. Who dashed? The figure suddenly stepped into the light. A familiar face appeared. Kim. He smiled. Boom. Stephanie stared at him. For a second, she looked genuinely terrified. Then the fear disappeared, and something completely unexpected happened. She stood up, ran toward him, and wrapped both arms around him. Kim froze. His smile disappeared. Stephanie. She held him tighter. Kim looked down at her, then back toward the door, then at her again. What? Stephanie didn't say anything. She simply held him. Kim slowly placed his arms around her. Hey, nothing. Stephanie. Her shoulders began shaking. Kim's expression changed. She was crying, not the kind of tears she had shed earlier. She was crying heavily now. Kim held her tighter. Hey, hey, hey. He gently rubbed her back. What happened? She didn't answer. Stephanie, talk to me. Still nothing. Kim glanced around the room. Did somebody hurt you? She shook her head. Did something happen? Another shake. Kim became increasingly worried. He tried to pull away slightly so he could look at her face. She wouldn't let him. No. Her voice was barely audible. Don't what? Don't leave. Kim froze. She tightened her arms around him. Please. For once, there was no sarcasm in her voice. No anger. No teasing. Just fear. Kim's heart sank. I won't. She continued crying. I promise. He held her. 1 minute passed. Then another. Kim tried several times to get her to sit down. She refused. He tried to ask questions. She refused to answer. So eventually, he simply stayed there. 5 minutes. Then 10. He didn't know what had happened. He didn't know why the woman who had spent the last 162 days telling him to stay away was suddenly holding him as though he was the only person she trusted. But he wasn't going to push her away. Eventually, Stephanie's breathing began to calm. She slowly loosened her arms. Kim looked at her. Her face was wet with tears. He gently wiped one away. Now will you tell me what's wrong? Stephanie looked at him. For a moment, she said nothing. Then her expression suddenly changed. Why are you in my house? Kim blinked. What? Why did you sneak into my house? Kim stared at her. You were crying. That doesn't answer my question. You hugged me. So. Kim laughed in disbelief. 1 minute you're crying in my arms, and the next you're interrogating me? Stephanie wiped her face. You scared me. I said boom. You sneaked into my house. The door was unlocked. That doesn't mean you can just walk inside. Kim raised both hands. Okay. He laughed. But Stephanie wasn't laughing. She looked away. Kim's smile slowly disappeared. He knew her. Something was wrong. And this time, she wasn't going to talk her way around it. Stephanie, I'm Fina. No, you're not. I am. You're crying. I watched an emotional movie. Kim stared at her. An emotional movie? Yes. And that's why you hugged me for 10 minutes? Stephanie nodded. Yes. Kim shook his head. That is the worst excuse I've ever heard. She turned away. I'm tired. Stephanie, I'm Fina. He gently took her hand. Sit down. She hesitated, then finally sat. Kim sat opposite her. He leaned forward. Tell me. Stephanie looked at the floor. There's nothing to tell. You've been angry with me for 162 days. She looked up. And now you suddenly hug me and cry? Kim's voice softened. I know you, Stephanie. She looked away again. I know when you're pretending. Silence. Stephanie's eyes began filling with tears again. Kim waited. Eventually, she whispered, Don't ever leave me. Kim frowned. What? Promise me. He stared at her. Promise me you won't ever leave my side. Kim leaned back. Stephanie, I've been coming to your house for 162 days begging you to forgive me. He gave a small, confused laugh. And you've never said that to me. Stephanie looked at him. So why now? Her lips trembled. Because... She stopped. Kim waited. Because after everything... Her expression suddenly hardened. Everything you and your mother did to me. Kim's face changed. We're back to this. Yes. You brought me to your mother's house. Kim sighed. I know. I tried. I know. I tried so hard. Her voice cracked. I tried to make her like me. Kim remained silent. Stephanie wiped her eyes. I dressed properly. I brought gifts. I tried to talk to her. I tried to be respectful. I know, but nothing I did was good enough. Kim looked down. His mother's expectations had always been clear. She wanted him to marry a Korean woman, someone who understood their culture, someone she believed could fit into their family. Stephanie had walked into that house knowing none of that would be easy. But she had tried anyway, and things had gone badly. His mother had made comments. Stephanie had tried to ignore them. She had tried to remain polite, until eventually, the tension became too much. The argument had happened. Stephanie had left, and she had asked him to come with her. But he hadn't. He had stayed with his mother. Stephanie's voice became quieter. You chose her. Kim shook his head. She was my mother. And I was supposed to be what? Kim looked at her. I wasn't choosing between you. You stayed. Kim had no answer. You watched me leave. I was confused. You let me walk away. I thought you needed space. Stephanie laughed bitterly. And you called that a small mistake? Kim's expression fell. He understood now. The words from that morning came back to him. He had minimized something that had hurt her deeply. Stephanie. She looked away. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Kim shook his head. This isn't why you're crying. She looked at him. What? I know you. He leaned forward. This isn't just about my mother. Stephanie remained silent. Something else happened. She looked down at her hands. Kim. What happened? She didn't answer. Stephanie. Her hands began trembling. I made a mistake. Kim's expression became serious. What kind of mistake? I shouldn't have done it. Done what? She took a deep breath. Then another. I signed something. Kim frowned it. Signed what? A contract. With who? She looked at him. Someone who knows us. Kim's expression changed. What do you mean? I don't know how they know you. What contract? Stephanie's eyes filled with tears again. I wasn't thinking clearly. Stephanie. I was angry. At me? Yes. She wiped her face. I was angry with you. I was hurt. I felt like nobody cared what happened to me. Kim stared at her. So what did you sign? Stephanie took a shaky breath. I accepted an offer. Kim's heart sank. What offer? Stephanie looked at him. I agreed to become a surrogate for someone. Kim stared at her. He didn't speak. Stephanie continued. They were going to pay me. Kim's face slowly changed from confusion to disbelief. You agreed to carry someone's baby? She nodded. But then something happened. Kim leaned forward. What happened? I couldn't continue with the pregnancy. Her voice broke. It ended. Kim stared at her. For several seconds, he couldn't process what he had just heard. Then he shook his head. No. Stephanie looked at him. No. This isn't real. Kim. No. He stood up. You're lying. I'm not. You don't look pregnant. Stephanie stared at him. Kim suddenly realized how ridiculous that sounded. He rubbed his face. I am sorry. He couldn't finish. Stephanie's eyes filled with tears. I didn't know what I was doing. Kim looked at her. I was angry. She continued. I thought accepting the money would solve everything. Kim's voice was barely above a whisper. And now? Stephanie looked down. Now, there's another condition. Kim's eyes narrowed. What condition? She shook her head. I don't know how they found out about you. Who? The person behind the offer. Kim s'était put closer. What does this have to do with me? Stephanie's eyes met his. The contract isn't only about me. Kim froze. What? It involves you too. His face hardened. How? I don't know. You don't know? I swear. Then what does the contract say? Stephanie looked terrified. I don't know how to tell you. Kim's voice became more urgent. Stephanie. She looked at him. I made a huge mistake. What mistake? I thought I could handle it myself. Kim stared at her. What does the offer say? Stephanie opened her mouth, but no words came out. Kim bit it. What does the contract say? Stephanie's lips trembled. Then she whispered, It says. She stopped. Kim took another step toward her. Stephanie. She looked into his eyes, and Kim suddenly realized that whatever the person had offered her, it was much bigger than he had imagined. What does the offer say? Stephanie didn't answer. And for the first time in 162 days, Kim wasn't thinking about winning her back. He was thinking about what he had just walked into.